Hi everyone, my name's Mary Appleget, CEO of TeachToTheBrain.com and host of the Brain Academy. And I want to thank you for opting in to this 4-part free video training series on the brain responsive approach. I am thrilled to be teaching this through a dream I had many years ago, an online platform available for you, the teacher, parent, coach, or leader. The hows and whys of brain research are absolutely critical to our instruction today. And I'm here to give you 6 reasons of why brain research is so important and how you can develop your own skills to become a brain responsive master. I'm also here to share with you the facts and the honest truths about the brain. So if you didn't opt in at this page, brainacademy.com, please open up a tab, go to that, brainacademy.com, give me your name and email, and we'll make sure you're on the list for all of the trainings that are coming up. So, why is brain research so important? Well, the first reason overall is it's best practice, okay? Now look, best practice increases engagement. It's if you know best practice and if you're implementing strategies that engage a person, then you're going to be excited about your job as a parent or a teacher, and you're going to be thrilled for those that you're serving because their engagement's going to go up. So best practice really makes a better you. That's the first reason why brain research is so important. The implications of current brain research also provide strategy. Strategy when you're not knowing what to do, you're not sure how to get those learners engaged. Strategy is what we provide, and strategy that reflects the implications of brain research is absolutely fun, exciting, and the desire to learn goes up. So we're excited to provide hundreds of strategies, literally, through these 4 training videos. All right, the third reason why implications of current brain research are so important is because it's all in one place. And I'm talking about your brain. Your brain is where everything stems from, and if we can help you understand the systems and the functions of the brain, and again, the most effective strategies that work with influencing engagement, then you are going to be thrilled with everything going on in your life. Remember, happiness and contentment is the key in learning, and I think engagement provides all in one place when you learn and study the brain. The fourth reason, and this is more of a how implications of brain research are going to help you, they're going to help you develop relationships. Now, relationships are key to learning, and those teachers out there watching this know if I don't have a relationship with my students, the desire to learn absolutely doesn't even exist. I've experienced that many times where I have to step back, look at what I'm offering, and really analyze why my students aren't engaged. So the 12 essential elements, which we'll introduce to you within this 4-part free video training series, helps you understand how to develop relationships and why relationships are key to top achievement. Now the 5th reason you and me, and those involved, want to provide the research to you and help you translate it in the hows is leadership. We need your leadership out there. With the current brain research exploding all over the field, we need you to lead. So I'll be your leader, you be my leaders out there in the world, and we will master the brain responsive approach and create this wave of excitement with learning and engagement, and that will no longer be a problem because we've adjusted to what those learners need. Now the last reason I want you to engage with this and how this is going to affect you is you're going to become part of a movement, and the movement is the brain responsive movement. And what we're going to end up doing is getting kids and adults to respond to us, thus the name brain responsive. There's a little story behind this name. I studied brain compatible and brain friendly strategies my whole teaching career. I was absolutely intrigued with how the brain worked the first moment I walked into a classroom. I wasn't ever sure if they were learning it or not, so I started studying techniques and strategies and assessment pieces that would help me understand if they really did learn it. Well, the brain is a fascinating thing, and we know now more than ever, way more now today than we knew back when I was beginning. And what we've learned is a movement can happen in a positive way if we all engage with the effective strategies that happen. So there's the hows and whys to what you opted into, and be excited. We're going to change the environments that you step into, and then you're going to change the result of what you get from those learners. All right, before we start teaching you about your amazing brain, make sure you download the notes booklet right below this video so that you can take notes. A powerful strategy for remembering the facts that are needed to understand your brain. All right? Something you can transfer into a family meeting, have them take notes on their tablet or their phone, notes pad, or you can transfer into the classroom, have them take the notes on the notes booklet themselves. Teach them about the amazing brain. You have full permission to use this lesson with your students or your own kids. All right, your brain's amazing. We're going to teach you about that. First thing I want you to understand is this first fact. Your brain is the best organized and most functional 3 pounds of matter in the known universe. And with that being said, potential is unlimited. It's if you can use the effective strategies to help you grow brain, and we're going to help you learn the brain responsive approach. All right, second fact that I want you to understand is this brain of yours, the bewildering array of electrical chemical activity is not only mind-blowing when we start to study it closely, it creates this major barrier in understanding it because it's so complex. And we hope to help you understand and learn the newest research coming out and understand how it transfers into parenting, teaching, coaching, and leading. If you can understand your own brain and the brains that you serve, this major barrier can start to be broken down. Okay? Now the third fact about the brain that I want you to understand, and you might already understand this from your biology, the brain's cellular units are very, very, very microscopically small. They're immense in numbers, in the billions, and they're all connected. And the connections that we make to new learning have to be matched up to the connections already in that brain. So we'll help you understand those facts in a deep sense, not just the breadth of it, but the depth of it, as soon as we get into the training videos. But make sure you have those 3 facts in your brain as we start to explain how that all works. Now, the honest truths about the brain, your brain's potential, in education, in your schools. It's always defined our education profession. We've always looked at learning and achievement and growth. We've measured it. We've implemented new programs because we want to know the brain's learning. Yet the brain itself, we've paid little attention to it. And professional development does not necessarily always take the top step of the ladder in brain research when it comes to helping your staff or your group of learners grow. Assessment, social emotional learning, management, lesson planning, objectives, all of those things are part of it. But I don't know if there's teachers right now in professional development required to go to brain research or the implications of brain research. We're here to provide that, as I found myself very little of that offered in the world. So thanks again for opting in. Now, another honest truth about your amazing brain. They focus, those teachers of yours, or you as a teacher focusing on your kids, tend to focus on the visible, measurable manifestations of learning or cognition. And that's the whole assessment era of measuring data, data, data. Does it measure what we need it to measure, and does it show growth? And those manifestations of learning are the result of learning, but the brain itself and the processes and the systems that help that brain learn really haven't been discussed. And that truth shows up in number 3. We need to change the focus, and we're here to help at the Brain Academy, to cognitive mechanisms and processes, and help teachers and parents understand the processes involved in the brain and the mechanisms needed. Our research shows the 3 faculties of the mind, emotion, cognition, and reflection, that integrate and create the brain responsive approach. So we will focus on those faculties of the mind in our next video. So as we talked about the amazing brain, I want to bring up a problem that's evolved in education, and it's really, really important you understand this. Parents, I think you felt it many, many times as teachers tried to help you understand the learning processes for your student, your child. And teachers, you're going to understand this because it doesn't feel right, and you probably have reflected many times what's wrong. So let's talk about the deficit remediation educational model. Deficit meaning what's wrong, educational meaning it's part of the educational model, and it's actual a model that everybody has been trained to respond to and implement, and without even direct instruction. So let me help you understand the facts. Okay, first of all, this deficit remediation model has been in education for decades. I was taught through a deficit remediation model. My parents used a deficit remediation model, looking at what was wrong and trying to remediate it, trying to fix it. And it's in every single school that I've ever taught at or attended. They're going to look at what's wrong and try to fix it. And that's a problem when it comes to brain research and what the implications of current brain research is telling us about achievement. The second fact about the deficit remediation educational model, it assumes in this model that the most important thing is to fix the learner. Now I want you to think about it if you're an English teacher or a math teacher in an elementary school, and the first thing we're going to do is do a test, a pre-test, to find out where this child is as they come into the school year. And after you do the test, you're going to look at what's wrong, and you're going to try to create a lesson plan or a schedule for that learner and fix that problem. It's a deficit that we need to remediate. Our special education programs in schools all over our nation look at the problem and try to fix it. Deficit remediation. Now I want you to think of a parent, or you as a parent, and the last time your child did something that was inappropriate or not expected, you went to that child, assumed you're going to fix this by letting them know what's wrong and what they have to do differently. And if they don't do that, they might be grounded or lose privileges. Again, focus on the deficit and let's remediate it. And it hurts us, and it hurts those trying to grow and learn. It actually stifles achievement. Current brain research shows us this in all of the physiology of how the brain works and the systems and processes that we talked about just a little bit earlier inside your brain and the brains of those you serve. All right, there's another fact that you need to understand. This is absolutely devastating to learners in schools, public schools and chartered schools. Parents really don't understand the process here, but they accept it many times, thinking we're really intentionally trying to help the learner. And that is, the learners are forced into remediation classes. And there's only so much time in the day, and as you look at remediation classes, they're going to take place when all of those other kids that are fixed, if I can say that, go on to art, music, the curriculums that are the most engaging, hands-on, and the ones that are not achieving according to our standards go into what's called a remediation class. And this is absolutely bad, because who wants to go work on something that they're no good at, especially when you have the potential to be at something you're really good at, sculptural art, or the trombone and band. And you won't go to that if you're not fixing your remediating the problems you have in your skills of academics. So a very, very tough situation, but we have a solution. It's called the brain responsive approach, and we're going to teach you all about that in this training series. All right, there's a brutal truth. Now, we're going to call the Deficit Remediation Educational Model DREM. And the programming associated with this model of pointing out the deficits and trying to fix it, it hurts their achievement. Now I want you to think of the three faculties of the mind and the reflective mode of what happens in our lives. And as soon as someone is telling me that I'm no good at math and I have to go into a remediation class and miss my art, I'm going to have some self-reflection and really hostility and resentment. I'm not going to be real motivated when you take something away that I love and force me to go fix something that I really don't feel good about, nor am I good at. So this hurts. The programming, when we use deficit remediation and say, look, you need to fix this, that hurts achievement. Yeah, I know. Now the second brutal truth, most educators focus solely on the weakness of their students because the systems are set up that way. Our grading systems alone help us identify with who's achieving at the highest level and who's failing at the lowest level. That arbitrary scale that we use to give them a grade, remember, it's going to always focus on the weakness until we can raise that grade. Very seldom do I see kids thrilled about all the A's on their report card. If there is a lower grade, they're going to point out the weakness. That's because we program them to do that. Our systems are set up to program them that way, and it hurts achievement. And our knowing now of what you can do with a strength-based program will change the motivation and engagement of your learners, I promise, and you. Now the third reason, or brutal truth actually, of deficit remediation, and this one will amaze people. Most teachers and parents believe and want the opposite for their kids. They want us to focus as a teacher on the strengths of their kid. They want us to point out what's good. They want us to point out what they can build up because they have a passion and a desire for it. Parents don't want to hear the weaknesses of their kids. They already know them, but they do thrive when you focus on the strengths. So the brain responsive approach focuses on the strengths of students. It gets rid of the deficit remediation model completely and helps kids and adults achieve more in their time together and in their individual off time because they start to understand how to apply it to themselves. So what is the answer to deficit remediation in the model that's in place for decades and most people know no other? What do? Well, we're going to create a model of power, and power is one of those secondary needs of the brain that has to be activated so that kids and adults can act on their own behalf. So I went in and worked in the research of deficit remediation, studied what the opposite model would be, and it would be a strength-based model. This is a focus on deficits. This is focus on strengths. The other difference, major difference between the two models, this is going to not feel good. It's a control model where people want you to look at a certain area and fix it. And anytime anyone's controlled in any manner, the brain releases chemicals that make you feel resistant. sometimes hostile. So we have to be very careful that we use strategies that empower an individual by activating their power instead of deficit remediation strategies that make a person feel bad and doubt themselves. So we're going to start by defining power, and it's with this piece that I want you to teach your learners. Whether in your own household or they're in your classroom coming up, use this piece as a beginning lesson to teach them about their power and what you're going to offer them in your classroom or the learning environment that you provide. So, power, the ability, according to the definition in the dictionary, to act on one's own behalf. So my power inside me is my ability to act on my own behalf. And that's to create this video, for example, which, by the way, is very frightening. So thank you for following and thank you for listening, because there's nothing that's been more of a challenge for me to activate my power in teaching a face-to-video teaching. Very, very scary, but I am activating my power. I'm acting on my own behalf to teach you something that I learned and that I know will change your life. Deficit remediation and strength-based models. So we're going to do a group model with whoever you instruct, and I'm going to use a group model of power, and I'm going to teach you how this all evolves right now. So the group model is called empowerment, and empowerment is defined as creating conditions where one can act on their own behalf. Now, if you study the word and language of empowerment, the prefix and the suffix, EM, create, MENT, conditions, that's what the definition of those imply. And power, of course, is to act on my own behalf. So if I'm going to create conditions where one can act on their own behalf, I have got to unlearn the deficit remediation model, and I have to relearn how power works in the areas of teaching, parenting, coaching, or leading. So there's the definition. I want you to teach your learners this, whether they're staff, students, or your own kids. I want you to teach them about the individual model of power, what it means, and what the model means as a group model, empowerment, and the definition of that. And this piece is in your notes booklet. Make sure you write that. So now you've defined power, the ability to act on your own behalf. You're going to teach your students and your staff. I'm going to empower you. I'm going to create an empowerment model this year that focuses on our strengths. We're going to dispel all the beliefs about deficit remediation and how that's supposed to help them. And we're going to understand and transfer our power, our ability to act on our own behalf, and help students activate theirs. Now, teachers have asked me many, many times, how do you do this in the classroom? Or a parent says, but what do I say to my kids other than don't do that or don't be late, which is deficit remediation. So what I want to teach you right now, and this is another piece, it's in your notes booklet, and this is old school. The kids loved it last year when I used it to teach my 6th grade group about their power. I put these posters up just like they are now on the classroom white dry erase board, and they helped me teach each other and them all about their power. They filled out their little framework, they kept it in their portfolio, and then I redirected them to their power and the definition of their power and the perceptions they had when they had to work to learn, when they had failure, when they had success, when they were contemplating what to do next. I'd say, all right, let's activate your ability to act on your own behalf. So how are you going to do that? That was a key question. And which perception are you going to really take a look at here? So let's talk about power perceptions. If someone's successful and is meeting the standards that you set in your classroom or in your household, and they feel good about themselves, and the next step is always welcoming and exciting, then they are activating their power. They have a perception about who they are. And the number one human need is the first power perception. So if I can get my students to change to this perception in my classroom, I am significant, of course, the number one human need. If they perceive themselves as significant in the learning environment, or if my own kids see themselves as significant in the household, then they're going to activate their power much more quickly, their ability to act on their own behalf. It's how the brain works. It's all about how they see themselves in the world and how they perceive themselves with the environment that they're engaged with. Now, the second power perception is I am capable. And again, if I have the perception I'm capable, then I will activate power within me, the ability for me to act on my own behalf, if I have the perception that I'm capable of doing this. And that's the key to success in the classroom. Teachers, you have got to send messages over and over and over that they are capable of learning this. They're significant enough in the world to need to know this information because they'll soon be serving others as they go on their journey in life. So, I am significant and I am capable is how they have to see themselves to activate their power. And it's our job to send those messages that they are. Now, the third power perception is absolutely the most active one I build in my classroom and in my household, is I'm responsible. It's funny that I would often point to this one when kids were not engaged in their learning. And I would say, who's responsible for this learning? And develop their power perceptions. They would turn and have to go point to this. I am responsible. And I would say, of course. And then the excuse would come, this is meaningless. And then ding, ding, ding. I'd have to reassess what I was doing as an activity and make sure it connected to those dendrites that were already built in their brain, and connect what we were doing to make it meaningful to what they already know. And I am responsible is always a very effective strategy and behavior when someone makes a mistake and they are not rehearsed in saying they're sorry and identifying that that's the best strategy to take, then saying that they're responsible for it, they often start to perceive themselves, their power is, once I take responsibility for my nasty behavior, then and say, for example, I'm sorry, I'm responsible, that activated my ability to act on my own behalf, and it empowered me. And you'll see with kids that the walls didn't come crumbling down. It actually helped. We just have to guide them through that process. Now, the last power perception that I want you to think about and write down and make this poster for your learners is the perception that I am successful. Growth mindset versus fixed mindset is a tag in education right now that makes sense to all of us that work with learning. We understand when a student says to us, I can't do this anymore. That's a fixed mindset. We understand when a student looks at us and says, I just need a little more time. That's a growth mindset. We see that. We know that child will lead into success. So I am successful is a perception that we are going to build and help children and adults understand the small successes over and over and over and over in their days. But this power perception poster and the 4 power perceptions notes booklet, the piece in the notes booklet, should go into your professional portfolio and into their personal portfolio so that they remember what power is and the perceptions they need. Now, as a teacher, we're going to go right into the poster that's up about your power, and then, of course, power expectations. We're going to take away the expectations that imply control over the room, and we're going to import into their brains and up on our walls and into the student handbook and into their portfolios, what are the power expectations in this learning environment? And there are 4. The first one, personal best. I expect personal best. best, and I want to start with myself. I expect personal best from myself every morning when I get up, get dressed, and get ready to go, and I expect your personal best. Is it all the time, 100%? No. And I work middle school, so middle school, no, they're changing, growing beings faster than most other kids in the school systems. In fact, a middle school kid is changing faster through puberty, their brain, and their physical state than any other time in their life except 0 to 2 years old. So if you think about that, how fast an infant changes from infancy to crawling to walking within a 2-year period or 24 months, you're going to see the dynamic change in an individual through puberty and see it physically and emotionally and socially, just like you see in that infant to 2-year-old. And it's amazing. That's why I love teaching middle school. But personal best, when you start expecting that, that activates their power. Oh, I am capable. She just wants my best. Oh, I can be successful. Yep, because it's your best effort. That's where we're at. Okay? So the second power expectation is truthfulness. And we're going to be truthful with ourselves, and we're going to be truthful with each other. And we're going to own our choices that we make. We're going to say, yes, I did that, instead of being non-truthful and denying the choices that we make. Again, teachers in classrooms, you are absolutely shaking your head. Yes, Mary, I hear you, because you experience this every day. Last year in the classroom, I worked a 6th grade classroom all year long, and truthfulness came up a lot. And it was a piece that I had to teach about integrity, doing what you know is right, because when you're truthful, you don't have anything to remember. But when you're not truthful, there's all these other pieces that you're trying to manipulate and remember, and the brain doesn't work that way. It works well on truthfulness, and that creates a responsible community. So we're going to be truthful. All right, the third power expectation in the classroom is trustworthiness. If I'm going to empower someone to act on their own behalf, I have to expect them to be trustworthy, to do what's expected. They have perceptions. I'll start to change them if they're not there. I'll help them change their perceptions. They are significant and needed in this community. They are capable of doing the classroom work or the lessons that are provided or the works that provided from me as a boss to a staff member. You are trustworthy in those. I'm going to empower you to make your own decisions. I hope that you are perceiving yourself as capable, because I see myself as capable. And now you start to hear, see, and feel the empowerment model that's being activated in your environment. So trustworthiness is expected, and it activates power, the ability to act on my own behalf. Now the last expectation is one of the most important: dignity and respect. I expect dignity and respect in the environment. That would start by providing dignity and respect. Dignity is defined as worthiness. The act of making someone feel worthy is dignifying them. So I can respect everybody by just not saying anything and keeping my voice quiet. But I want you to go to a second level and dignify. Dignify those in your environment. Create a community that's connected, that trusts each other, that's truthful about what's happening, and they continue to give their personal best. And you will have a very empowered environment that works not on deficit remediation, but on strengths. And that's the next piece we're going to teach you about after John teaches the primary and secondary needs of the brain. But again, thank you for watching the entire video. Make sure you get the notes all written down. Get your poster boards out, people that are in classrooms, and get these up. This is one of the very first lessons that you can teach to those that you are engaged with this fall. Now, if you didn't look below, there's some bonuses. We put on, we uploaded a goals booklet I used this with my own classroom and put them in their personal learning portfolios last year. We would reflect on them throughout the year, and at the end of the year those were closed up. We did our whole assessment and they were sent home to have in their files. Now, did those goals come true that those students wrote down? I don't know, but they were empowered. I know their perception changed by working with me about who they were, and they were excited about learning. So I know we made progress and we empowered each other, because I'm more excited about learning than I've ever been. So thanks again for tuning in. Look forward to video 2. John will be teaching you about that. And in the meantime, always remember, teach to the brain and the heart will follow.